Welcome back to PHLY Union Podcast. I'm your host, Renee Washington. Excited to have you guys on board for us today. It's been draws, and more draws for the Philadelphia Union. And we've got plenty to get into. Will, nice to see you here in the chat. Welcome in. The Union have been a lot like the weather right now at times. It just has not been great. We've had some groggy, gross days. We've had some rain and wind, and it's just been a lot to handle. But the Union have a chance tomorrow night against FC Dallas to get back in the win column. So, of course, today on the show, we've got to dive into that. We've also got to get into recapping that LAFC scoreless draw on Saturday. I've got producer Tyler Zulli, our MLS and MLB expert and statistician, that's going to be joining us on the show again later. And just to let you guys in on what we're doing here at PHLY Union Podcast. Now, the first two episodes we've had guests that have joined me. We had JP Zapata, also known as El Parcero Philly, who joined us on the show, who is a host of his show that covers the Union and actively been involved in covering the Philadelphia Union. He will also be joining us here at PHLY. And then in our second episode, we had the captain, Alejandro Bedoya, Philadelphia Union midfielder and superstar and one of the faces of the team, joined us here live in studios. We had a chance to just really get into Ali's career, what the Union are looking like, their goals of what they're wanting to do in their next outings to get results, just recapping the season so far. So the beauty about PHLY Union Podcast is every episode you're going to get something different. We're going to have fun. Sometimes we'll have some activities. We'll have a chance to see players and coaches here with us. The long list of phenomenal guests, from players, coaches, to even content creators, writers, reporters that are covering the team that are going to be joining us here in studio or out at games. It's going to be magical. So I'm excited because I know we've got from the Sons of Ben and some game watching opportunities to some events that we're going to be doing that you guys will be able to participate and be able to provide what we're looking for the Union, of just having the coverage, the conversations, the excitement, really being able to tap into what we love most about the Philadelphia Union, the community vibe. That's something I've been hearing a lot as I've been talking to all the different guests and people that are excited to be able to join us on the show, is the community vibe of the Philadelphia Union, because this squad is something special. Obviously, we saw last year in the run to the MLS Cup just how much this team has continued to grow season after season. We talked about it with Ali Bedoya, dating back to when he first joined the team, to when Andre Blake was named goalkeeper of the year for the MLS, to then getting that first playoff spot, and then the Supporters Shield that came in 2020, and then moving forward from there to the international success, and then the MLS Cup last November. That was just kind of, I won't say the icing on the cake, because we all know what the icing on the cake is: the championship, but also just getting them closer to that point. So let's talk about it. Let's dive into things and just really break down what happened. Now, looking back at that game versus LAFC on Saturday, shout out to all that attended in person. I wanted to get there, wasn't able to do so. I'm not going to say I missed out on a gross one, but I did. But shout out to everybody who attended the game and was at Subaru Park with the ponchos, had the rain gear going, still cheering, still bringing the noise, still bringing the energy, because it's tough on a game like that, especially with a scoreless game that saw just about 6 shots between both teams. But overall, when you look at that game, it was just a complete switch from what we saw November 5th when LAFC and the Union last met up. That was a nice sunny 3-3 tie. We still had a draw, but a 3-3 tie in regulation, and then PKs, and just saw one of the most exciting games to date for the MLS, and definitely for MLS Cup history, to then have that 0-0 draw Saturday night. Now, with that tie, we just going through it right now as the Union are just in their final 5 games. Every game is important for playoff the playoff push and not only have had a chance to clinch last Wednesday, but also as you're looking at home field advantage. As we know, Subaru Park is an advantage for anybody that is tuning in and joining. You all know how exciting it can be at Subaru Park. It's electric. The players feel it. The coaches feel it. The team just thrives off of that energy. And so you're also playing for home field advantage. And unfortunately for the Union to have dropped the last 3 straight as draws, you still are lucky to come away the point at least. So there's a positive there. Of course, you'd love to win at least one of those games. But against LAFC, now LAFC is and still remains unbeaten against the Union, which I do not like that stat. 5-0-3 against the Union, as we have seen the draw on Saturday, the draw last November that, of course, ended in PKs for them to win it. All 3 of those draws also came at Subaru Park, which is an interesting, weird nugget of information of the Union came closest to beating LAFC when it's being played in Chester versus when it's on the West Coast in LA. So that's also something to keep. That I was very surprised about and did not really realize. But overall, for both Maxime Krupo and Andre Blake for the keepers for their respective sides didn't really have to do much in that game. There wasn't a lot going on. So with that, I'm going to bring in Tyler Zulli, our producer, our MLS expert who has had a chance to continue to follow the team for many, many years, over a decade of following the Union, loves whether it's cracking numbers or just following to be able to bring something different. Now, Tyler, welcome into the show.
Hi.
Now, a Saturday game like that, what are your takeaways from how the Union played against LAFC?
First of all, I got to circle back to something real quick. So we've had 3 shows now, right? And show number 1, you have John, who I love. He's one of the best in the business.
Yes.
Show number 2, you have the captain, one of the greatest players in Union history. And then show number 3 is me. That's where I'm at here.
Yep.
I can't follow that up. Come on.
Tyler, that's actually hilarious. We're just raising the bar here. You know, you're in great company. John and Ali did a fantastic job.
Incredible
2
job.
Colombians, 2 talented in their own respective ways. One on the pitch, one off the pitch covering it. But as you mentioned, and then we bring you in because you too, Tyler, are an expert and just do a great job in everything you do, whether it's producing the show or weighing in on it as well. So yeah, it's some great company that you're in. No pressure at all, Tyler.
Oh yeah, none whatsoever. It's okay.
All right, so that game against LAFC, sloppy, gross. What words come to mind? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, all really good adjectives. Disorganized, and not in a way not in a tactical disorganization, it felt like I was watching little kids soccer. You know what I mean? Where that pack ball mentality, where it's where the ball goes, everybody else goes. And that's kind of what it felt like because it was so sloppy. It was so gross. The weather clearly dictated the fact that LAFC was totally okay with sitting back and just playing that prevent defense and just letting the game bleed out, basically. There was not a whole lot to offer. It was a soccer match. It happened. We watched it. You watched it. I watched it. And at the end of the day, 90-plus minutes went by, and I don't think either of us learned anything from either of these teams.
Yeah. Honestly, it was just a game that you're happy to get in. You're happy that you're able to get the game played. Yeah, I'm with you, Tyler. Jose's with you, Tyler. So there you go. You're coming right in making great points. But, to see LAFC...
We got friends already.
You've got friends already, Tyler Zulli. There you go. But LAFC to drop in 5 defenders. John McCarthy didn't play in the game in net, so some different looks in their back 6. But overall, it was a sloppy game because of the weather. It absolutely plays a factor. And I know something that Jim Curtin was talking about after the game was just about how, you could see for both teams, they're not at 100%. Nobody really is at 100% in this point of the season. There's injuries. There's, of course, suspensions that also play a factor. But the most thing is the injuries, the heavy legs of playing so many games that really weighs on you. And you could see that play out. And we'll touch a little bit more on just the minutes that these guys have logged and how much they have played. But overall, looking at just how that 90 minutes unfolded, the first half, the Union really felt like they had great possession. They felt like they moved the ball nicely and just creating some spaces to get into. Just weren't able to, in the attacking third, pull the trigger. and they were over-possessing at times, and they weren't able to find shots, and they had some chances, and Daniel Gadzag scores that goal gets called back. We're thinking that the Union are up 1-0. We're celebrating, and it's an offsides call. So even that's something that's like, had the weather been different, maybe the pass moves a little bit quicker or whatever, that play might not be an offsides call. But we definitely saw, with all that we had coming into this game of the hype of it being a rematch, it did not live up to any of that hype, Tyler. Not to mention, for both of these teams, this is a game that you circle on your calendar. And for all of us, we were kind of like, oh, that was an ugly 90 plus minutes of soccer. We got through it. It did get played again, which is a positive, but not great for this late stretch of the season.
Yeah, you know the social media nonsense that's happening with the Eagles and the 49ers right now, where all the 49ers fans and players are like, we're circling on this calendar.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 19 weeks away. It had that without the vitriol. And then the game, like you said, doesn't really kind of lead up to the hype. It was a rematch, and you got the chance to see really talented players on both sides of the field, and that's about it. It would not stun me in the least if you see these two teams find a way to get back to an MLS Cup Finals, and play each other. They're both not at the peak of what they were last year. Obviously, the wild card of Inter Miami is always functional and happens.
Oh yeah,
but it's not a surprise to me to see these two teams right there where they need to be at the towards the end of the season, even with the fact that these two teams have played a ton of games this year. The Union they're tired, right? I think that we all can tell that they're tired. Weather doesn't help them in any way. And then you have a good team, a really good team on the other side, who again was willing to just park the bus and sit there for 90 minutes in a road game, knowing the fact that they're comfortable coming away with a point, where the Union are comfortable with a point, but still would like to, start to put some distance or get that second spot and then put some distance in the standings between them and everybody else not named Orlando.
Yeah, exactly that. Thank you, Eugene, for commenting on my yellow top. I'm, bringing the sunshine, trying to be a ray of sunshine on this dreary day. But as you're mentioning, Tyler, this game has had so much for just the playoff spot. Like we talked about, the Union, of course, did clinch on Wednesday. Even though they tied against Charlotte, they did clinch after that game. But you're still playing for more. You're still playing for home field advantage. You're still playing to close and climb the table to get that spot. And for the Union to come out in that game and come away with their third straight draw, also, as you mentioned, speaks to the fact that they are tired. Not to mention, in that game, Jacob Glesnes did not play for the first time since October of 2020. That's right, pandemic season. I actually remember that game. I think I was on the call for that game. Either way, for the first time since October of 2020 that they did not have Jacob Glesnes on the field. That's a streak of 101 games that was snapped on Saturday. And then on the other side, offensively, we see LAFC bring in at halftime Carlos Vela and Dennis Boyanga. And on the other side for the Union, lose Julian Carranza, who went out with a concussion, did get hit early in the game, stayed in the game, cleared to play. And then at halftime, Jim Curtin was saying, he just came up to him saying, I'm feeling dizzy. And as we all know, those are the words you do not want to hear after a player has sustained any sort of head injury. So Julian did not play the remainder of the game and also will be out in Wednesday's game tomorrow against FC Dallas. So that's not good news either. So you come out of that game, you get a point, but you lose one of your leading scorers in that game, which at this point of the season, when the Union are struggling a little bit offensively, you hate to lose Julian Carranza. But on the other side, in the 50th minute, we did see how that substitution for Carranza did play out nicely. Ty Baribo was involved in the play that led to what was the lone goal of the game. That was, of course, called back as Daniel Gazdag was called offsides. But Ty Baribo was the one that helped lead that play, hitting the ball off the crossbar. Gazdag's called offsides. That goal is called back. But either way, we saw a positive bright spot there that Ty was able to add into the offense. And I know Jose Nunez, I believe you were the one that asked the question to Jim Curtin earlier today in our press conference with him about Ty's minutes and if we'll see more and who's going to be the starter. And Jim kind of skirted around the answer of just saying whoever gets the call in the attack, they're going to be ready. You know, whatever that front lineup looks like, the front three, whoever's going to be in the mix with Daniel, they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be ready to step up and fill in, especially in the void of Julian Carranza. So there's the next man up mentality for the Union right now of being able to have players step in. Of course, there's been injuries. The back line, for example, has had a number of different looks, a 3-back, a 4-back, Jacob on the field, Damian on the field, Jack at center back. It's been a mixture of combinations, and they're also encouraged that regardless who's on the back line or what that number looks like, 3 or 4, they're going to continuously be a team that's hard to score on. So the minutes, though, Tyler, all that could come back to the minutes and the fact that there are some heavy legs, and I don't care how you slice it. These guys have played so many games between the MLS games and the international games, the CONCACAF games. You know, it's a lot of soccer being played, a lot of minutes and matches, and also a lot of meaningful games. We're not talking about like, you know, a friendly here and there. These are meaningful games to win hardware. These are meaningful games against great teams. You're traveling more. You're on the road more. Ali Bedoya talked about that on Friday, how difficult that is for all the teams involved to have just more on your plate. And we saw and have seen how the team has looked tired. I remember Wednesday against Charlotte, Tyler. That was like the first thing I thought was, wow, they look so gassed and so flat coming out, giving up those two goals in the second half, trailing against a team that's bottom of the table, Tyler. But here you are, trailing 2-0 in a game that you should win to clinch. Of course, tie to clinch, but win to clinch, and they just look so gassed. What were your thoughts on just how they've been managing it and working through it?
I think the one positive of all of these games is life without fill-in-the-blank player, right? Because as much as we would all love Kai Wagner to be here forever and Julian Carranza to be here forever, listen, we have to have the conversation. As much as we'd love these guys to be here forever, at some point, and probably some point in the near future, especially with Kai, you're going to have to live life without these players on your roster. And it's unfortunately the role of the MLS is, I don't want to call it's not the feeder league that it used to be, but it is it's a propeller league, if that makes any sense. And you're seeing guys going for record, transfer market deals, right? Julian Carranza, they allegedly turned down $7+ million for Carranza. You might get 10 by the end of this season. Kai Wagner, you had multiple offers from multiple different European teams over the last couple of years, and the Union continue to turn those down until they get what they feel is, fair market value plus, because that's where they're at. So the one good thing that we're seeing come out of all these games is, the smaller transfer market deals that the Union seemingly hit on consistently. Carranza's the home run, slam dunk MLS one, but Ty is, starting to come into his own. Bueno is going to start and come into his own. And you're going to see these guys that are going to be the next man up. And as Jim made mention, next man up mentality. So the one good thing that's coming out of these long, dreaded, 2 and 3 games in 10-day spans is you are seeing who's going to be the next player. And whether they're statistically succeeding this year or not, the having appearances I think it's immeasurable for this team.
That's a great point, because that's something that we talked about with JP actually on the show earlier as we were getting into Kai Wagner following the game against New York Red Bulls. Is the Union defeated the Red Bulls. Then there was the post-game press conference, and Kai Wagner was talking about his future in Philly and just how unknown it is. It's a harsh reality, as you talk about, Tyler, that there's no guarantee. This isn't the final destination, being in the MLS for a lot of players. This is almost a stepping stone. And you hate to say that, but it's the truth. And the return on investment that we've been seeing, the numbers, the amount that the Union had been able to bring in, Brendan Aronson's a player that comes to mind. Over the years, players that have gone and played internationally because they had such a great season or seasons with the Union. And Kai Wagner has Leeds and West Ham that are very interested. But you look at the stats of what Kai Wagner's done with the Union at just 26 years old, 165 appearances, been involved in 36 goals. That's 7 goals, 29 assists as a left back. And then this season already has been involved with 11 goals. We saw his trio of assists against New York Red Bulls, but his contract does expire December 31st. So as we're clocking into the new year, Kai Wagner's contract is clocking out. And he's saying that he wants to return to Europe. So it's hard to think about. It is that slap in the face of knowing that for as great as Kai Wagner's been playing, his days with the Union are numbered. But we've been seeing some players that have been stepping into the mix, especially on the back line, and showing, hey, the future for the Union is bright. Bright as my shirt. It's very bright because the Union have players, whether it's through the academy program and the pipeline that they've been building through like the Philadelphia Union 2 and the academy teams or whatever other changes, the Union definitely have opportunities to be able to continue to be a top team in the league. So I also remember Ali Bedoya was talking about something that we don't often really give enough of awareness to is the fact that the Union also don't have the money to dish out like an LAFC or Inter Miami to just be able to pay and bring in the biggest name players, someone like Messi. You know, they typically are the underdog team that has to bring in maybe the unknowns, overlooked types of players, build them up, develop them, get that confidence going to allow them to be able to really, you know, take the next step and help this team be just a top team in the league like they've been able to do the last few years. So overall, it's sad to see the news. I know I just saw the report and was reading about Kai Wagner yesterday, actually, as we're talking about the playoffs, talking about, you know, the postseason run and all the potential for the Union. We're also talking about what happens after, especially with Kai Wagner and who knows who else. As you mentioned, a player like Julian Carranza, Bueno, these players, you have no idea how long we're going to have them, but we know we had them so far. Look, as we have been talking through Tyler, already. I'm getting emotional here. It's like you're watching players grow up. Kai Wagner's a great example, and I just remember being on the broadcast for some of those games when I was working specifically just with the Union, and just seeing those glimpses and those moments that Kai Wagner brought at outside back and how he continued to mature, getting up the field. The Union like to attack in waves. You know, they're going to run numbers at you, whether it's a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3, whatever formation they're in, they're going to get dynamic movements. They're going to get balls into the box. They're going to have great services. And there is so much that you've seen Kai Wagner and just the Union be able to improve upon. And it's hard to think about, well, now who takes that spot? But yes, we have absolutely been seeing other players step up. Ash, welcome. I know you're saying that you're glad there's a Union show here. I'm happy that you're enjoying it. Look, we had to talk about the Union. I'm a former soccer player myself, played at LaSalle, so a Philly soccer player at that, played some professionally, actually played with Ryan Richter, for those of you that remember Ryan Richter as a player. I know he's also coaching with the Union as well. Played at LaSalle with Ryan Richter and John McCarthy, and have been advocating and continuing to push for us to have these conversations to talk about the Union because they're one of the best teams in the city, but also in their respective league. They're fun to watch. They're exciting. They play a great brand of soccer. And anybody that has remembered the days, oh my gosh, of Sebastian Ledoux, Freddie Adu. Wow. I was talking to Freddie not too long ago, actually, on the broadcasting side, he's now doing like different broadcasting assignments and opportunities. And I just remember when Freddie Adu burst onto the scene. But there are a lot of players bursting onto the scene for the Union right now, and that's been the fun part. Daniel Gazdag continues to have an MVP-like season. We saw last season, just offensively, how he's able to lead this team. So far, 13 goals, 10 assists, someone that has been playing very well. Also, at the penalty kick spot, has been converting a lot of PKs and been perfect from the PK line. So just enjoying the way that he's, along with Julian Carranza, who will be back before we know it. Hopefully he'll be back for this weekend's game. I don't know if that's possible, but he'll be back before I'm sure the regular season at least ends, to see the dynamic duo and the way the offense has been riding out, Tyler. What have you been thinking and feeling, and offensively, your thoughts on how the Union have been performing?
Yeah, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Daniel Gazdag and Jacob Glesnes both like ridiculously under evaluated. It's not FIFA anymore. What is it? FC. I think it's FC 24.
Like,
Both ridiculously undervalued in their shooting skills in that game. I think that one of the things that the Union have been so good at over the last couple of years, and without Carranza for, whatever foreseeable future it might be, maybe it shrinks a little bit, is this team can score in a multitude of ways, right? We know Jim always talks about those high percentage chances, which, of course you want to get inside the box. You want to, you want a 10-foot shot compared to a 10-yard or 15 or 18 or 25-yard shot. But the way that this team can beat you in a multitude of ways is incredible, considering how statistically driven they are, analytically driven they are, right? They don't care if they have possession. They don't care if they beat you in the number of passes connected. They don't care if you beat them in shots and shots on goal. They care about high quality chances. And when you are a team that cares about high quality chances, you have to have high quality players. And so this team has the ability to beat you in so many ways because, like you talked about, all these players that they have either brought up through their youth academy, or guys that they have found and cultivated into legitimate players. Kai was, nowhere before this.
Yeah.
And Gazdag, the same thing. Glesnes, these guys are playing in lesser leagues in Europe. And you turn these players from lesser league players with talent to MLS players to guys that are going to go to Bundesliga, La Liga, and maybe you see guys like Aronson go to the Premier League.
Yep.
So the fact that this team has the ability to beat you in so many ways and they do it efficiently. Now, granted, it's been a little bit of a drag the last couple of weeks because, like we talked about, all the games they've played.
Right.
But when they're fresh, the effortless, analytical, tactical, almost like surgeon-like way that they can beat you at times, it's apparent even when they're struggling with fatigue.
It is. And it's what makes this team so great is that they can attack you in a number of ways, whether it's off of set pieces that they're finishing and bringing a player like Jacob up or Jack into the mix, or if they're able to score on you in the run of play. It could be shots from distance. It could be getting into the box. There's a number of ways that this team can really finish, and having two players in the top 15 for goal scorers in Carranza and Gazdag, that also helps. But you know what also helps? FOCO is able to provide you with opportunities to use their products, their merchandise, their collectibles, their apparel, whatever it is that you're looking to purchase for a great price, nice and easy. And you can use the code PHLY for 10% off at FOCO to be able to check out the latest that they have there. They've got a lot that you can check out of bobbleheads, shirts, bracelets, whatever it may be. And you can check all that out at FOCO using that code PHLY for 10% off. Well, there's another jersey that we should check out. It's been going around. The MLS tweeted about it or X'd about it or posted about it, whatever we're going to call it these days. Let's take a trip back to memory lane. I know somebody asked, you were talking about Sebastian Letou. Well, how about this for Sebastian Letou? This was posted by the MLS on Monday, the 25th, asking about, or just posting, battling it out for their city. These uniforms are throwback uniforms, as you're taking a look at the NYCFC uniform from 2023, but also the throwback, I should say, from the Union back a decade ago, 2013. Now, this picture just screams to me. I think they're both hideous. I don't like the NYC uniforms for this. That I don't like that kit at all. But the black kit that Sebastian Letou is wearing is so basic travel soccer. I feel like I may have actually worn a uniform like this. It didn't have the big bimbo across the front, but I remember wearing this classic Adidas looking kit back when I was U10. I know people were in the comments saying they're both ugly. The one, the Union one is ugly. I think they're both ugly. I think it doesn't give me MLS vibes at all. It gives me high school soccer vibes. Do you remember back Okay, Tyler, I don't know if you remember these days, but especially middle school.
I did not play high school soccer.
But the jerseys that you would have in like middle school were those hand-me-down jerseys that had been worn for like decades. And they weren't they were all ratty and tatted and messed up. My private school for high school had good uniforms, so I can't use them as much. But definitely for middle school, every year the uniforms are just atrocious. And this is what it reminds me of, because these are giving me hand-me-down uniforms, not MLS uniforms. Now, I know 10 years ago was a long time ago, but it wasn't. And Sebastian the 2 in that picture looks just like Sebastian does today, actually. I don't know if he's aged at all, minus maybe a little bit more facial hair, but the uniform looks totally different, thank goodness, for what we're seeing. Do you like these uniforms, Tyler?
Yeah, the simple answer is no. So I didn't play high school because I wasn't any good, but I played a ton of CYO growing up.
Love it.
And every jersey was the same, right? So from like 4th grade to 8th grade, so 5 years worth. And they look like that. Ours were maroon, but they look like that. The 3 stripes down the side, and your, ironed on school emblem. And that's all it was. And that's exactly what that looked like. So I saw that and I immediately went, neither?
Yeah.
Is neither an option?
Yeah, I know people were calling for more votes, but I agree. This is one that's like, I don't even want to vote. Neither deserves a vote. They're both bad. There needs to be a C, all of the above option, because the 2023 NYC kit and the 2013 Union kit are both bad. Not good. No bueno at all. We don't like those. So I do like the Union kits that we've been seeing these days, the blue and yellow, the all blue, the light blue, I should say. Obviously the traditional navy. It's gotten much better, thank goodness. But the classic stripes down the side, they are very similar. I always also get, this is a very minor thing, but I don't really love when it's 2 different colors between the shorts and the jersey, the shorts, and the socks. I feel like should all be the same color. That also was, to me, a more college professional look versus like a youth sports look.
That's
if
fair.
That makes sense.
Can I give you my Union jersey hot take, and then I'll see myself out?
Oh no, you don't like the light blue.
I don't like the I don't like the lightning bolt. I like the darker blue jersey. I like their road jerseys. It's just, I don't know what it is, Renee. It just doesn't sit with me. I didn't like it when it first came out. I like it more that I see it in the stands.
Okay.
Like, I almost like it better when I see like fans wearing it than just like either hanging in the, the frame or worn on the field. It's a great fan jersey. I just don't love it.
And I feel like,
I know people are going to be like, go away, don't ever come back on this show.
You're done. I feel like you're the same way with the Phillies uniform, so that actually is consistent. Am I right?
I think that I'm just not a powder blue, which is weird because I went to Father Judge, and if you know what Father Judge colors are, it's that blue, but it's just like not my thing on the jerseys.
I get that. See, I love a powder blue jersey, like whether it's UNC color light blue, more Union light blue, powder blue, Phillies powder blue. I think it's cool. I do agree with you, though. It's a great fan shirt to have. Like, that color on fans in the stands looks phenomenal. On the field is different. But I feel like it's grown on us, and I'm a huge fan of it. I will take that in a heartbeat way more than this black uniform that we're seeing, the black and white combo.
Yeah, the one where you play in FIFA and you're like, you know what, I don't need a third jersey. Yep. Whatever the game wants to make up, you can just, and that's what you get.
Bingo. Well, as you mentioned, the team did get snubbed in the rankings for the, whatever we were calling FIFA these days. And I saw that Jacob was ranked in the top 10 for like most physical, I think the category was. And that's like all the Union were represented in. That's a problem. You have a team that went to the MLS Cup last year, a team that's top of the league, sitting in the top of the league, 4th in the East. They did drop in power rankings after their 3 straight draws. And they're not in any of the categories. Daniel Gazdag's not anywhere. Andre Blake's not anywhere. Like, I have a problem with that. And also the Union defensively, in their last 4 seasons, have given up the fewest goals in the MLS. There's a reason for that. So it's fine. We'll take the bigger, pats on the back versus the video game things. We're not going to read too much into that. Now, the Union do have a chance to get back in the win column. They're taking on Jesus Ferreira and FC Dallas. and that is happening Wednesday night. Back at home, so hopefully Subaru Park will be loud and bumping. Now, historically, as these two teams have faced off against each other, the Union have had the upper hand. The last time that they did meet last August was when FC Dallas hosted the Union and knocked off Philadelphia. They knocked off the squad, but that's fine because entering tomorrow's game, when you look across the amount of times that they played, the Union have definitely done better at home against FC Dallas, which is the positive. They've lost once in 6 home matches against Dallas. So it was 2 wins and 3 draws against them. Hopefully tomorrow is not another draw. So they've at least been better at home. They have struggled against FC Dallas on the road for whatever reason. They've only won 2 of the 15 all-time meetings against FC Dallas. So we're not gonna, we're gonna defy the odds Wednesday. We are absolutely thrilled that they're gonna be back at home because that's where they've played best. Those 2 wins against FC Dallas happened in 2017, 2019, and now in 2023. It should happen again, right, guys? So yeah, it's been a weird series between these two. You would think that the numbers would be different, but for whatever reason, FC Dallas just continuously has had the better of play against the Philadelphia Union, but just not at home at Subaru Park. There you go.
There's some times where you just have teams that have your number, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just soccer. It's a lot of different sports where they may not even be as good as you, but they just may have, your number for whatever reason. And especially on the road, FC Dallas, the Dallas Burn, whatever you want to call that team from Dallas, that team from Dallas. It just seems to be one of those situations. Like the Union's record, I think I know they're a relatively new team, but the Union's record against Minnesota is not tremendous either, if off the top of my head. So I think just sometimes you just have a team that has your number and you have the chance to kind of rectify that, especially at home where you've been so darn good over the last, 3 years specifically.
Yeah, it has been tough playing at home. I agree with you. There are just those weird matchups that for whatever reason tend to favor one team over the other. And playing back at home is always a huge advantage for the Union. They've won all but one of their regular season games going back to September of 2021. It is September 2023, so do the math on that one. So dating back 2 years ago, the Union have won every single home game at Subaru Park except for one. Of course, some of those are ties. There's 9 ties in there, but 26 wins that they've had. And that continues, hopefully, Wednesday night. Now, if you're trying to get to the Union game or any other game, the Game Time app has you covered. You can check out the Game Time app, use that code PHLY, get $20 off of your purchase. Game Time app gives you tickets and different types of events, entertainment in terms of like concerts and things like that. You're able to check out at the Game Time app. So be sure to head over there, use that code PHLY, get $20 off of your purchase, and be able to find some great prices to make it nice and easy to go to a game near you. Now, the matchup for the Union and FC Dallas is a weird one, as we talk about just the numbers, how it's been heavily in favor of FC Dallas. The Union, of course, at home have just been significantly better across the league and how they're able to perform there. But also, offensively continues to be one of the areas that they're trying to improve. I know Ali Bedoya was talking about it. Andre Blake didn't have to do much against LAFC, and that's something that Bedoya said this team has been focusing on, just getting a clean sheet. Well, check. They did that on Saturday. Mission accomplished. They were able to hold a very talented LAFC team to 0 and keep them scoreless. But then on the other side, they have struggled offensively with getting goals. Jim Curtin did talk about it earlier today, actually, of just what they've been looking to do and adjustments they wanted to make offensively. Just wanted to make sure they're not over-possessing. As you talk about, Tyler, the statistics side, this team doesn't care about winning the number of passes and passes completed and having the better possession. They want to make sure they're possessing with a purpose to get goals, and they're not overpassing. And at times, they have found themselves making the extra pass. He said specifically looking at a player like Jack McGlynn, who maybe elects to make the extra pass instead of taking the shot from distance or instead of, taking someone on 1v1 to get the shot. So for all of the attackers. We see Daniel do a good job of that. We see Julian do that as well when he plays, and hopefully he gets better soon and can get back out there. But for their attack, regardless who's in the mix, they want to be more dangerous getting forward, creating opportunities, finishing those opportunities, of course. But just you have to create shots. You cannot score if you don't shoot, as basic as that may seem. And the Union sometimes are trying too hard to get the perfect shot instead of going ahead and taking the shot. So I like what Jim was saying earlier, because I could not agree more. You look at that game, the amount of shots between both teams, you can of course attribute it to the weather, but at the end of the day, you cannot go through 90 plus minutes of soccer and get that few of shots on goal where it's around 2, 3, 4 shots that you're able to generate, especially with a talented offense like this. So Tyler, I don't know your thoughts. I don't know. It's, to me, makes complete sense. The Union need to shoot. Not just 4 shots, not just shots from distance. As I said, we don't want them shooting just to shoot. But when you get in around the goal, it's with that final pass, final dribble, final play with the mindset that you're always ready to shoot. You don't have to waste touches. You're not overthinking things. You're always ready to get that final shot on goal.
Yeah, with the understanding that this team is defensive-minded and it's analytically driven, there is a stark difference between overextending yourself, which allows for a counter attack, versus, being aggressive when aggressive calls for it. And I don't want to call it timid. That's not fair to professional athletes and grown adults. But it almost flows towards the side of timid more than being, cautious about the counter and the break on the other end. And you're right. Again, it's not about the amount of touches. It's not quantity, it's quality of opportunity. And you can't have quality of opportunity if you're trying to extend quantity of opportunity.
Right.
Sometimes you can, and sometimes you just, pepper the net. This happens more in hockey than it does in soccer because, the much smaller playing surface. You pepper the net and you pepper the goaltender and see what happens. Sometimes you get quantity turn into quality, but I think you and I think the Union in total would much rather quality, but not, doing it for the sake of like not giving up quality because you're so considering and cautious about quantity. That's a lot of words to say. You have to at some point be the aggressor.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance because you want to be more aggressive. You want to play on the front foot, generate more opportunities, but you don't want to force those opportunities and force them. And I think that's a big thing that Jim was stressing is they're not shooting just for the sake of shooting. You're obviously shooting to score. So to me as an attacker, and I always say, I was a goal scorer, goals, assists. I was a midfielder, I was a forward. So I always say as a goal scoring mentality, the difference is some people just get into the attacking third and are just happy to be there. Whereas as a goal scorer, you're there and you're like, this is my time. That's when you actually dial it up a notch. This is my time. This is this is where I operate best. Give me the ball. I want to finish. So it's that confidence of knowing in the attacking third, you're going to be the player to finish, but also thinking and always being ready to shoot. So now every cross, every pass, every 1v1, you're not just trying to keep possession. You're trying to create space to finish. You're trying to shift your defender to finish. So I think that's something that we can hopefully see from the Union. Of course, with Jose Martinez out, he's someone that has been a big boost for them with generating shots from distance. We saw a beautiful goal that he had from distance. He is still out. Jim Curtin was talking through the player availability, and Jose has been just dealing with a knee injury that he picked up with Venezuela. So they're just being smart with him. Bueno did do a fantastic job replacing him. So Jose, who's not, he's not 100% as many players aren't. They want to just make sure they're managing his minutes. Jacob is also dealing with more of what he was saying like a sports hernia, essentially. He's just in pain. He's in pain. And so he's been working through that. He's also being managed with his minutes because they do still have Damian and Jack that can anchor the back line. They don't have to force him to be out there. We saw how those two work together against LAFC on the back four. So Jacob is going to be someone that they're keeping an eye on. And then, of course, as we mentioned, Julia Carranza coming out with that concussion at halftime, out Wednesday night. Still unsure when he will be back, but they're also not rushing it back. With head injuries, you definitely have to err on the side of caution because they have the tendency to seem like you're okay, and then all of a sudden, one weird play, one weird fall, whatever it is, can set you back, and now you're out even longer. And with just 5 games left in the regular season, which is insane to think about. The Union have to make sure that come playoff time, Jose, Julian, Jacob, everybody, that's 3 J's. 3 J's, but everybody is feeling as close to 100% as possible. So with that being said, it's a lot to keep an eye on. I'm hoping that we're going to at least see a clean sheet, a goal. So I'm like, a nice 1-0, 2-0 victory would be fantastic. And just to get a result is really the key for the Union coming into tomorrow night's game. Now, as games are happening, it's also time to consider DraftKings as we're looking at another week of football. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. They got the job done Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their weird, scary mascot, Captain Fear, that looks like the thing from Saw, and I just can't unsee it. So I just keep telling everybody because I'm traumatized. The Eagles got the job done, and for anybody that is looking to, across DraftKings Sportsbook, get involved, you can absolutely do that too. So with our code PHLY, you can get $5, bet $5, get $200 instantly in bonus bets. So again, throw down on any of this week's upcoming matchups, and you can walk away an instant winner. We like to win, guys. So DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered there. And football is more fun when you're in on the action. Football Americano, whatever kind of football it may be, it's more fun when you can download the app, sign up with code PHLY, and as a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. And for anybody that has a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. And in Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. You can call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. Now, on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, you have to be 21 or older. Age does vary by jurisdiction. It is void in Ontario. And you can see sportsbook.draftkings.com/football for terms of eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources are there as well. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Now, back to the task at hand, the matchup against FC Dallas. We will get into in our Friday show, the matchup against the Columbus Crew. So we're not looking that far ahead right now. But I agree with you, Jose, as you're actually going to be joining us on the show very soon, which is exciting. You'll be here on Friday. But we've got to keep an eye on Ferreira for Dallas. Absolutely. He's also a top goal scorer across the league. But as you mentioned, leads the league in game-winning goals this season. Ferreira is a handful and someone that, as the Union are looking at the matchup, know his ability to get in behind, take players on 1v1. He's not your typical forward. He's very active. He's got that confidence, as we talk about, in the attacking third, playing on the front foot. Well, Jesus Ferreira does just that, and he's one that you always have to keep an eye on defensively just because of the way he can create and at the slightest opening is able to put the ball away. So it's going to be a fun one. Hopefully the weather is much better Wednesday. Either way, I'm sure Subaru Park is going to be rocking and rolling. Fans are going to be excited as we're continuing to cheer on the Philadelphia Union. And part of the excitement has also been getting to know the Philadelphia Union. Ali Bedoya joined us on Friday, not just on the show, but after the show as well, as we had a chance to talk through in Hispanic Heritage Month, just learning more about him as a Colombian, his heritage, his culture. He shared with me the 5 foods that he enjoys that are true Colombian dishes, but also had a chance to share with me the 5 Colombian artists that he likes. And so I wanted to give you guys a sneak look into the 5 Colombian artists that Ali Bedoya enjoys the most and his answers. And let's see if you agree with them. There's some good ones on this list, guys.
Carlos Vives is a big Colombian artist. So, my mom used to play his CDs all the time. So I listened to a lot of his music. Obviously, J Balvin, big reggaeton artist. Maluma. Who else? Juanes, can't forget about Juanes. They're classic. And then top 5, Shakira's half Colombian. So,
okay.
Shakira.
There you go. Do you have any dance moves that go along with these songs?
Oh, no, and I'd rather not have that on video.
Thank you, Ali. Shakira. Now listen, Ali Bedoya may not have the moves, but he's got a very solid list of 5 there. And for anybody that's looking to tap into some artists that maybe you haven't listened to as much, check out those names. Look, Ali Bedoya, great guest that we had on Friday brought a lot of fun answers. We had a chance to get to know the union a bit more as he was talking about behind the scenes locker room stuff that we don't always get to talk about with the team. Also, he shared more about himself. We've got more of those types of fun opportunities to learn about the team, get to chat with the team. For those that tuned in live today and every day, thank you for tuning in because we've got more to come. A show on Friday. We also have a special segment that's coming your way this week. Stay tuned for that to drop. And we'll be sharing those details across our social media at PHLY_union. You'll be able to check that out. We've got so much that we can talk about as we're talking about the playoff push, the close of the regular season, but also getting to know the union, their players, their coaches. So I hope you guys are excited because we're only going up from here. And when you see the things that we have planned, the interactive, fun things that we've got planned, the raw, authentic conversations, the guests, you're in for a good one. Let's just say that. So Wednesday night against FC Dallas, the Union looking to get back in the win column. Hopefully the tying streak ends here. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of PHLY Union Podcast. I'm Renee Washington for producer Tyler Zulli, our expert statistician. Thank you for joining us. Hope you guys can subscribe, like, comment, follow us on YouTube so you can catch a new episode. Every week we're dropping a couple episodes a week. We started out slow. We had to warm up and ease into things, but we are full speed ahead now. 2 and 3 different episodes per week at least that we're bringing you content around just the Philadelphia Union specifically. Of course, PHLY Sports is covering all things Philly sports right now. So you can also check us out across podcast platforms for any episodes and anything that you may have missed because we're going up from here, guys. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Let's go Union. And hopefully Subaru Park will be rocking and rolling, getting the doop going. I'm always so bad at that on the spot. But have a good one, guys. See you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.